Hello and welcome back. My name is Jennifer and I make stuff. And we're back again in my bathroom because I'm going to color my hair yet again, but this is going to be a completely different color because it's not going to be green this time. After all of those showers that I have taken after I dyed my hair that green shade, it left me actually with more of a basically the majority of all that green that was in that hair dye is basically just gone, and I have a little bit of this kind of turquoise left, and I think that's because it's the color that is actually underneath all of this dye that I used before. So my hair is more blue now because I actually got to the point now that I wanted to make my hair more towards the bluish tint, a little bit of purplish tint, because I wanted to prepare my hair for the new color that I'm going to use, a deep burgundy red or a mulberry wineish red tone. That's probably going to look more burgundy or purplish red because I have this bluish tint already in my hair. Who knows, maybe it's going to look more red depending on how strong the pigments are, because I know red are very strong pigments and blue are very strong pigments. So this is a couple of weeks later from the intro sequence that I recorded, because I did actually go over the process of trying to make my hair more burgundy red or mulberry wine red by going over with a red tint over the blue hair that I had. But unfortunately my hair turned completely deep purple because I guess it has to do with the fact that the red tints that I used, they had a purple undertone to them. So basically having that purple undertone mixed in with the blue hair that I already had basically turned my hair completely purple. So I tried to even it out and maybe get that kind of wine red look by waiting a couple of weeks, making my hair going through a couple of washes, so maybe all of that purple would remove in my hair so it would get more to a bright purple instead of that deep purple, and then go over with a intense red hair dye to hopefully get that kind of wine red tint. But even though I went over with a red that was like a fiery red, no pinks, no purples, no blue hues or tints in it, it still made my hair deep purple. So I decided that the easiest way for me to go from blue to wine red is if I just try to remove as much of the tints that I already have in my hair, and that basically means having to do a color remover. So I'm going to do that kind of color remover where you mix in I'm going to use the Blonde Me 20 developer, but I'm going to mix it in with some dandruff shampoo and maybe a little bit of this purple shampoo just to get rid of all those yellow tints. And also it's going to make the strength of the developer less intense, so it's not going to be as damaging for the hair. And I know you can see my hair is wet now. It's because I have actually washed it with one round of dandruff shampoo because I had some hair products in my hair because it was Christmas recently and I had some hairspray and some other hair products, so I just wanted to wash off all of those products in my hair before I go over with any kind of developer or any kind of chemical process, because I don't know how it's going to react if I have some kind of hair products in my hair. But I think I'm going to try and comb in some oil into my hair. Like I have some almond oil, you can use coconut oil. The only thing about using oils in your hair when you're going to use a developer or bleach your hair, it's only going to decrease the damaging process. It's still going to damage the hair, but it's not as intense. I just wanted to have some kind of oils left in my hair. It still is a little bit greasy just because I only went over with one round of shampoo, so I still have some natural oils left in my hair. So I'm going to just go over with some of the almond oil basically in the length and the ends of my hair. And the stage my hair color is right now, it's like a very electric purple, and you can see the blue peeking through also. It basically is just more like when it's dry it's very blue tinted. So I'm going to see if this is going to work. It's definitely going to lift some of the color and make it look much brighter. I don't know if it's going to turn the purple or the blue tints green, because previously when I have bleached my hair, when it has been this reddish tinted purple, it has turned the purple more green for some reason. I'm going to have to see if it's going to affect the fact that I'm going to color my hair red, and I'm going to try to go over with those shades that I used before, the Rubine and the Dark Tulip, that are like purplish reddish tint. The Rubine is more of a pinkish red and the Dark Tulip is more of a purplish red. Hopefully by lifting some of this color it's going to go more towards that wine red instead of turning it purple. I don't know, we're going to have to see if it's going to work. Yeah. so I'm going to try that now, and hopefully I'm going to get the result that I'm going for. So here are all the products that I'm going to use. You have seen these products before in the previous videos that I have made when I have actually dyed my hair, but this time it's all about the color removing process. I decided to actually bring this Blonde Me powder, but I'm not going to use as much. I just want a little bit of the bleaching powder or the lightening powder mixed in with this, so maybe it's going to give it more of a kick, so it's going to bleach the hair even more. And also when I'm going to do this bleaching process, I'm just going to focus on the length where I have all of this dye in my hair. I don't want to bleach the roots right now, but maybe I'm going to bleach them in the future. And I'm not focusing on removing the colors entirely. I just want to make sure that they are lifting, so I'm going to get a much lighter tint or tone in my hair, so the reds are going to show up much better, I hope. Just gonna make sure that I either have 50-50 or maybe a little bit more shampoo than developer. I'm going to have to see. If I feel nothing is happening, then maybe I have to add more developer. So I'm going to mix everything now into this plastic container. I noticed that I didn't have that much of this dandruff shampoo, but one thing is you can actually add warm water to this mixture. So I'm going to actually pour some warm water into this so I can actually shake the bottle and get some of the leftover dandruff shampoo that might be stuck on this shampoo bottle. So I'm going to get some of that warm water and the rest of all the dandruff shampoo. If you run out of dandruff shampoo, you can use your favorite shampoo or a shampoo that you know works for your hair and your scalp and mix it in with the developer. I think just dandruff shampoo just helps the process a little bit faster and by removing the color, but you can use any shampoo that you like the most. I'm not going to do any kind of fine sections, but I'm going to work from back to the front and the top of the scalp because I rather work from the back, have that develop the most, and then having the front and the scalp part being the last part that's getting the bleach, because these areas are the ones that start to bleach the fastest, because these areas are pretty much the most damaged part because they have been exposed to the elements the most. I'm actually going to do another mixture and make sure that this one is more a thicker consistency than this one because I think I used way too much water. Alright, so I made another mixture here and made sure that I only had a tiny amount of water in it and also mixed in a little bit more of that bleaching powder. And that actually made this mixture here start to expand a bit and get a little bit more in a mousse consistency. It started to lather up a little bit more so it wasn't that runny. The bleaching powder and the developer are basically around the same amount that you would do the mixture if you only had the developer and the bleaching powder for doing just the bleaching process. And now you can see with the purple shampoo, this is basically what the shade of my hair was when it's dry. Might look very dark in the light here, but yeah, it's basically this shade now, so hopefully it's going to be much brighter when we're going to do this process. But we're going to have to see if the bleach bath that I have mixed now either is going to turn green or if it's going to look brighter. We're going to have to see. So yeah, I'm just going to start slapping on some of this bleach bath now to the length of my hair. So it's definitely starting to remove some of the dye. I can see that it's starting to look more closer to blue at the moment and maybe a little bit of that turquoise. So it may be starting to remove those layers that I have underneath since I have had turquoise and all of that. So I'm going to have to see what it's going to look like after the bleach bath has developed, maybe for half an hour. So hopefully it's going to remove some of the dye. When I'm washing off everything, it's going to remove more of the dye. So maybe it's going to look like it's more dye in the hair than it actually is going to be when I have washed the hair. But yeah, I'm gonna work on the next layer and the next layer. So this is the bottom part now, and hopefully I've gotten the majority of the parts that have been bright purples. So So now I have wrapped my hair up in a plastic bag and a tiny towel hair wrap. And maybe you could see that during the process, but definitely my hair turned more towards the turquoise and some greenish blue tints. But I could actually see that in some of the strands in my hair, it started to go to more of that kind of yellowish blonde tint. Surprisingly, this went pretty fast. It just took me like 1.5 hours actually to get all these pieces. Especially, I think it has to do with the fact that I'm not bleaching the roots. I'm just bleaching the length, but my hair is also pretty long, so it's a long length to cover with all of this bleach and making sure that all the strands are saturated with the bleach. So I'm gonna keep this on and I'm going to wash it off. And I think instead of doing the pigments today, I'm going to try and just use this pigmented conditioner that I have that has red pigments in it. This one that is called Fire Red. This is just a straight up red tinted conditioner, so it's not going to last as long as these semi-permanent hair dyes. It's going to get removed after maybe 2 or 3 washes, but after one application of this one I can get sort of an idea what it's going to look like with this red on top of the hair that I have now. So if it's going to look more red or if it's going to just turn purple again. It's just a little bit of a guide or an idea of what it's going to look like, even though this one is more of a straight up intense red and the other pigments that I have has this pink and purple undertones. It's still going to give me a vision of what it's going to look like, and if I maybe have to go through another bleaching process after this one. So now I have washed off all the bleach wash and it's now a little bit more wet than towel dry. So it has a mixture of copper, green, some turquoise, some hair strands are more blonde. So I'm gonna see what this is going to look like once I have colored this entire hair with this Color Bomb cream conditioner. And I'm going to use gloves for this because even though this tinted conditioner isn't as strong as these semi-permanent hair dyes, it's still going to stain your hands and the scalp, but it's not going to be stained for as long as the pigments that are in the semi-permanent hair dyes when it comes to pigmentation, but it's going to stain a little bit of your hands if you don't wear gloves. Definitely tell that these areas have become more yellowish blonde. So it's going to look like I have a very intense red at the moment in the scalp and all that, but when I dye my hair it's going to have that black tint. So this is obviously going to leave my hair looking like a warmish tone red, but I'm going to see if I really like that or if I want it to be more cool tone red. If I want it to be more cool tone red, then the dyes that I already have now is going to work perfectly as the next session for this. But I don't know if you can see, this is the reason why I want my hair to be more red, is the fact that my eyes look very blue now. It's starting to pop very much right now because I have very deep blue eyes, but I have noticed that having red hair is making my eyes pop much better. So I think I've gotten every strand, every part of my hair with this tinted conditioner now, so it should be red all over the head and the length. So I'm gonna leave this now for 10 to 15 minutes and then just wash it off and get back to you to see what it looks like when it's dry. So this is the day after, and as you can totally tell, my hair is definitely red. But it might look deeper tone in camera right now, and this is what it looks like in daylight also, but it looks a little bit different in camera. It might look like it's a deeper red, a little bit more cool tone red, but in real life it's more like that kind of fiery red and a little bit more to that orangey side. So I was expecting it to turn into more of that kind of very vibrant red shade, but I just wanted to check out what the red pigments would look like on top of the hair strands now when they are bleached, when they got to that kind of turquoise, light green, sort of yellow tinted hair strands and all that. So it definitely turned my hair red, so I can't see any sign of those green tints and I cannot see any of those turquoise tints. And obviously those parts that were like sort of blonde, they have gotten more intense red, almost like that kind of orange red. I decided to buy that Pillar Box Red again because I want to actually mix it in with those other shades that I have, the Rubine and the Dark Tulip, since they are more to that cool tone side. Especially the Dark Tulip, that one has a lot of that kind of purple hue underneath all those red pigments, and the Rubine is more of a pinkish undertone, so it might fade into more of a magenta. So I want to mix in a little bit more of those red pigments with those shades. So yeah, that's the update right now, and I'll get back to you when I'm going to dye my hair mixed in with some of those Pillar Box Red pigments that is going to make it more red than purple and pink. So as promised, this has been a couple of days since I recorded the last time, and as you can see, my hair isn't as vibrant red as it was when I last recorded. What I found out is the fact that my hair seems to take the red pigments pretty well. One thing, however, that I noticed is the fact that my ends looked, when the red pigments were in my hair, they looked more like that kind of dusty rose, and now they look more faded into a very light baby blue, sky blue, a little bit of green in it. I feel that even though my hair seems to look very much straight up red when I had the creamy conditioner in my hair, I still want to make sure that I'm not getting too much of those purple and pink pigments. I still want more red peeking through, so I'm gonna try and mix in this Pillar Box Red. I think you can see that's what it looks like, and mix it in with, for example, the Rubine, which is a deep red, but it has a pinkish hue to it. If you see what it looks like when it is thinned down, you can see that it turns more towards pinkish purple. And the same thing goes for the Dark Tulip, which is a much deeper, more like a berry shaded deep purplish red. And also I decided to add the black hair dye that I have, the Ebony, because this one is sort of a brownish red tinted black, so it fades into more that brownish red. I still don't want my hair to turn towards brown, so I'm planning to mix in some of this Ebony with some Dark Tulip and a little bit of Pillar Box Red, so I would have a very, very deep berry red shade in the roots. So it looks straight up almost black, but when it fades it turns more towards those purplish red tints. So the plan I have here, I'm going to mix in the Ebony now with just a little scoop of Dark Tulip and Pillar Box Red, so it looks like a very, very deep berry red. Just use that in the roots, because then I'm going to, after that, just blend in the roots with Dark Tulip as the next step. And I'm doing that maybe 1/3 down. The majority of the length are going to be Rubine mixed with Pillar Box Red, and then I'm going to leave the ends for last and just use straight up Pillar Box Red, so it only has the red pigments in the ends since they have that blue tint to them. So now all the colors are in my hair, and it took some time to actually do all of these sections because I wanted to make sure that I really got everything saturated with all of these colors, so that's why it took some time. It seems to catch more of those red pigments. Hopefully it's going to look more berry red but has a more cool tone look to it. So I'm gonna let this sit in my hair for approximately an hour, do something else, wrap it in a plastic bag and then wrap a towel around it so it keeps it moisture in there. It takes its time to actually saturate all the hair strands and make sure that they are as vibrant as possible once I rinse this off. So hopefully this is going to be the result that I wanted from the beginning. So I'll get back to you with the finished result. So this is the finished result. I have rinsed out the hair and now it's the day after, and I have, as you can see, I have dressed up and put on makeup and actually done my hair in a little bit of a simple updo, but still a little bit work put into it because I was curling my hair in sections and then putting my hair up and then decorated it with some hairpins that has some rhinestones on them, so they are a little bit sparkly and all that. Definitely is an improvement from what I had before, the failures that I had previously that I did record, but I felt that those were such a waste of time for me to show you. No matter how many steps I took, I never got to that result that I was going for. So I finally realized that the simplest way for me to do this was to get rid of all of those blue and purple tones in my hair and then start from scratch to get this berry red hair, I would say. It definitely looks like it has sort of a pinkish tint to it in some, or maybe fuchsia pink tints in some lights, but looks very much like wine red, obviously. Since I mixed in some of the red with all the other hair dyes that I used, it definitely made those dyes more towards the reddish tone, because I think if I didn't use those, my hair would be more closer to pink and fuchsia tint instead of having that wine red hair with a purple and pink tiny hue to them. And I felt that that was a very good choice, because now when I see the finished result, it definitely has that kind of fuchsia tint but with an overpowering red tint. So I think it's going to, when it's fading out, it's going to look more towards fuchsia and pink. So I'm going to use that Pillar Box Red mixed in with that creamy pigmented conditioner that I have. So when the hair is fading out, I'm going to use more and more towards those reddish tinted hair dyes, so it's going to look more and more like a deep red tint. But I'm very happy with the finished result that it is now. It doesn't have that much purple in it, which I'm happy about, because I had such a struggle removing all of that purple out of my hair. Even though, yes, the scalp is stained purple and you're going to see some stains in my neck that is looking very purple, but thankfully the hair is more cool tone red instead of having that purple shade. And now for New Year's Eve I decided to use this black glittery dress, and you can see that I have some glitter in my hair just to bring more of that New Year's Eve feeling to it. But I have two dresses that actually are this wine red tint, but I felt like maybe I was going to blend in too much to have wine red in my hair and then wine red on the dress. And also I used the wine red on Christmas Eve, so I felt like I wanted to change it up a bit for New Year's Eve and wear something more festive looking. So I decided to use this one that has a lot of sparkles in it. So it's a black dress, but it has a lot of glitter in it. So it's definitely perfect for New Year's Eve. And also it makes the hair stand out much better if I have another shade on my dress than the hair. And yes, I know you can see the background here is still a work in progress. It's not finished yet. And I don't know if this video is going to be up before that one is finished or after. I'm going to have to see, but maybe you already know what's in the background. But I'm not going to tell you where in my apartment this background is and what the entire overall design looks like. You're just going to see a little bit of a sneak peek now in the background of what the details looks like right now. So that's it for this video, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.